Today I want to talk about the right leg in the downswing that you can see here can be a problem child. I really want to give you some insights on how this wedge will help your right shoulder and the release of the golf club to give you a little bit more power down through strike. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the right leg today and that right hip, right shoulder complex that's really going to help your downswing with your irons and your woods. The height of your right hip, when you start to rotate into a downswing, the height of that right hip will really start to give you the chance to release the right side in your golf swing. If you're using your right foot in a manner that's driven you towards the target, and we've all seen the videos of the late John Barnes standing there with a hip driven forwards and a spine tipped backwards, all of the energy coming from the right side. And we've all tried at some stage in our lives to try to step into the shot in an effort to really encourage more mobility and more weight transfer. But if you've watched enough of my content, and this video most notably where I talk about the pull phase in the downswing, when we're pulling on the golf club and we're using that left leg, I really want to give you some sensations on how that right leg, right hip can really mobilize the track of the handle down through strike. With the aid of my wedge here, and I've used this on several of my videos. You can find these wedges in the link in the description below. This wedge really gives you an opportunity to help out some pressures in your feet, not only in your backswing, but really start to level off your right hip in your through swing. So in a backswing, we've all talked about, or so many golfers have talked about, how much more hip rotation we see now in backswings, which I think is great for all those golfers that have struggled with back pain over the years where they've tried to resist their lower half. But as you now get to the top of the backswing and you start to move this golf club down, I see so often, and I had a client, a lovely client of mine that came on the back of YouTube, Mehmet, that came into strike, and he was so much on the toes of his feet here, and you can see down coming into the golf ball, that right heel is lifting. Now, if you've got a lot of energy going onto the toes of the feet on the way down, you're really going to encourage yourself to get into that early extension that can encourage the odd top shot or two, and even the unmentionable shank out to the right. So that pressure through the feet as you start to get into this pull phase of the downswing, really the pressures in the feet. The left foot is obviously pushing back, well, not obviously for some of you, but the left foot is pushing back, and if you want to find out a little bit more about that, do go check that video out up there. But as we're pulling this handle forwards, this toe and this foot that is now has some resistance in it, so it doesn't get so much up on to the toe of the feet. As you're starting to push back with the left, the fact that the toe is lifted up, if I was to continue rotating, can you see that because my foot is rotating up the wedge, it would start to lift my right hip up. It would start to lift my right shoulder up, which again allows us to now start to feel how the right arm can get a little longer into strike, as opposed to if the right hip is driven down and forwards, I really start to get this driven handle up and to the right, which makes the left shoulder lift up. So if you get yourself these Wolverson Fitness wedges, they come with a thin wedge, this one here, and that comes with two of those, and it comes with one of the thicker wedges. So this is the thick wedge, and what I want you to just do is go up to the top here and start to swing the golf club down and start to sense how the pressure stays into your right heel a little bit longer as you're starting to drive back off the left toe. And it will start to feel that as your club now starts to work down through strike and you start to now feel the pressure go up the wedge, what it will do is it will make your right hip rise up. And as this right hip rises up, it will lengthen the left leg a little bit more for you. So you'll feel your right hip feel much, much higher at this phase in the downswing, rather than if you've been one that's had quite a lot of leg drive and worked a little bit too much inside out. Can you see how the right hip will now sit down? I go back onto the wedge and I now use that wedge to start to lift my right hip up. It will really give you more sense of rotation through strike rather than lateral. So here I am, I'm unraveling my pelvis. I'm using the wedge to feel like I can keep a little bit more weight back into my heels. And if you move the weight back into your heels, what you'll feel is that your club path will start to work a bit more from in to in. And if you really want a great video on club path, go check this one out, because that will change everything about your perception of how club path swings from in to in. So we get this club working down. I'm now using that wedge to feel like I've got a bit more pressure in my heel in the initial pull phase. Now as I start to go through and strike the golf ball, what I'll feel is that right foot come up the wedge. It'll feel like it comes up the wedge. And again, you can see how that path line works from the inside. Not my best strike on that one. So let's go again, up to the top, moving the handle forwards. And I'm now going to feel how that weight stays into the heel. I'm going to feel like the right hip can stay a little bit higher, which then allows me to get through that shot. And it really gives me the sense that that wedge is tipping me up, lifting my right shoulder up, and starting to get my arms to finish a little bit more across me on the way through. So with those sensations, I can now start to feel the handle moving forwards. I've still got the pressure back into my heel as I'm feeling like that handle is moving forwards. Pressure's working from my toe. The wedge is feeling my contact point in my heel is still present. And now from here, I'm going to feel the height of the right side, height of the right hip, height of the right shoulder to feel like it gets my arms feeling lower. So I now put that into a full swing. I feel the contact patch just holds itself for a little bit longer in that pull phase. And then I'm going to feel the height that that right hip works through my shot here. Right hip's a bit higher, right shoulder's a bit higher, which starts to line everything up a little bit more. The way to go about practicing this is you don't have to go as far out there as hitting shots with the wedge. I would certainly encourage it. I mean, I would go a few practice swings to start with. You know, give yourself some practice swings, because what you're really going to feel is something incredibly different from impact onwards, because you're going to feel how that right hip really starts to rise up. And you're really going to start to feel how your left shoulder will lower itself off here, which will really give you some different sensations. But it's very much a freedom sensation of how this left arm is going to want to really feel like it has a bit more external rotation in it on the way through. And for all of you out there that suffer with a bit of back pain, this is going to be a great one for you. So we're feeling that pressure stay into the right heel in that pull phase. That left toe is encouraging that. And then I'm going to feel the height of that right shoulder, that right hip down through strike as well. So a really good drill to really change the height of the right hip, the length of the right leg, some contact patch through the foot that will give you this sensation of freedom through strike and a bit more momentum. You can apply this with your driver. You can apply it with your long irons, hybrids off the ground. But it's a great drill to really isolate out that right leg, start to change the way the top of your spine starts to work, and the track of that hand, or a bit of club path and hand. If you're tired of paying too much for your premium leather golf gloves, head over to gxgolfgloves.com. These are gloves trusted by tour players and elite amateurs alike. Use my code GOODCOACHING to receive 10% off your next order. Go try them out. you won't be disappointed. Little path in there too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that's given you some insights onto making your body speed a little bit greater, bit more downstrike, bit more leg length, bit more right shoulder, a heck of a lot in there for you to get your teeth stuck into. Thanks for being with me. If you're new to the channel, I do videos like this every Wednesday and Sunday morning, 9 AM. I've got you covered for all your golf swing needs. Thanks for watching, and that, my friends, is good coaching.